Hi Coppell artists, this is Miss Jen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use Model Magic clay to create a cupcake. So you'll see that my Model Magic color is white. If you are a friend at home and you have some different colors, you of course can use that, but I'm going to be starting off with white. You'll see I already took out some from the package. I would say this is a large golf ball size. It's a good amount that fits in my hand. If I was to use all of this, you'll see it's really big and it's hard to use because it doesn't fit well in my hand. So that's why I like to use kind of like a large golf ball size. So what I'm gonna do is actually separate it into 3 pieces. So I'm gonna take off just a little pea size, or maybe like a grape size amount, and this is going to be for the cherry for my cupcake. This is totally optional. And then with my leftover clay, I'm going to split that exactly in half, maybe even it out a little bit. And so this is going to be for my icing, and then I'm going to start off with this for my pinch pot. So we've done this before in kindergarten and in first grade, you might remember it, but to make a pinch pot, we're gonna start with a sphere. So you're gonna roll it in your hands in the direction of a circle. You could do this flat on the table. And if you've ever made cookies before, you know that you wanna create it into like a ball shape. So it doesn't have to be perfect. So you can see I just rolled in that motion and in that direction. If you're watching this video first, you can just kind of practice that motion with me. All right, so for my pinch pot, I need to use my thumb and create a hole in the center. So I'm gonna use my thumb and I'm gonna press in the sphere, but I don't wanna go all the way down because we're not making a donut. So I don't wanna press all the way through. I just wanna press down until I get close to the bottom. Now here's where the pinching part comes into play. We're gonna use the rest of our fingers, and on the outside, we're gonna be pinching and turning. So I'm gonna pinch and apply pressure and turn. I'm gonna pinch and turn. And you're gonna see that hole in the center getting bigger. It's gonna look like a little pot. I like to call it like a little cup or bowl. So I'm just going around and pinching and applying pressure, and you can see the hole is getting bigger. When you're pinching, you want to make sure you're not just pinching the top, you want to pinch all of the surface. So a lot of the times we forget to pinch the clay at the bottom. So make sure it's nice and even. And I wouldn't make it too big. A good rule of thumb or a rule is I always like to make sure it's not any thinner or skinnier than my pinky. So I'm putting my pinky right there, and I'm looking and checking, and I think that's a good thickness. If you pinch it too thin, like paper thin, it's gonna make it really fragile and it could break. So that's why you wanna be careful. And the good thing about Model Magic is if you make an oops or you pinch it too much or it rips, whatever happens, you can always just restart over. All right, so here's my pinch pot. You can see and kind of tell that I've pinched evenly all the way across, and I'm just kind of gently tapping it so it creates a flat bottom. I don't want it to roll away. All right, so I'm gonna put my pinch pot off to the side, and now I'm gonna use the leftover, and I'm gonna create a coil. So a coil is a long piece of clay, kind of like a snake. So for this, I kind of just rolled it back in my hands, and because my hands aren't very wide, I'm going to need to use a flat surface like the table. So go ahead and roll back and forth, up and down evenly. So when I do one side, I do the other. And a good recommendation is your coil should be at least 12 inches long to go around your pinch pot. So this is for the icing. When I do this, I feel like I'm working at a pretzel shop. So it doesn't have to be perfectly 12 inches. You can see it's already longer than the ruler. I'm gonna go just a little bit longer. It's always kind of nice to have it longer just in case, because you could take away the extra. And you want to be careful. You can see Miss Chen got a little bit thin, just on accident. It's all good. But if you roll it too thin or it breaks, you can always just start over. So here's my coil. I'm going to just very gently wrap it around on the top, just a little bit to get my circle of size. And then you don't want to press too hard because it could stick. So that's the thing about Model Magic, is once you put it together, it doesn't want to really come off of each other. So now I'm just kind of swirling it almost like a pyramid. All right, creating like a point. And there is the swirl for my cupcake. So this would be like the lid for my pinch pot. Now you can see I'm just barely, like, gently tapping and pressing so that there's no gaps. Okay. And then make sure it fits. So like I said, I'm just going to gently put it on top just to make sure it fits, but I don't want to press too hard because it can stick together. Okay, so I have my pinch pot, I have my icing, and now with that little tiny piece, see how there's a hole at the top? It's not a big deal because my little cherry, which is really just a small sphere, is going to fit right in that hole and cover it up. And so when I press down, remember that Model Magic wants to kind of stick together. When I turn it upside down, it's not going anywhere. So what you're going to want to do next is let this dry for a few days. We're going to paint it next week with some watercolor. So we don't want to paint it right now because it still needs to dry. So put this in a good spot and let it dry. And next week we will add some color and make it look super yummy and delicious. All right.